Welcome to another edition of Success Talk. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and as you know, each week we bring you conversations with people who have achieved great things, who've overcome many obstacles, and who have made some serious breakthroughs. And today we have a good friend, Jason Roberts. Welcome, Jason.
How's it going, Herbert?
Oh, man,
Thanks for having me.
it's going great today. Well, it's my honor, man. I tell you, I love having folks who are doing stuff come on our program and share some of the things that are going on in their lives and some of the lessons they've learned. So we get right into it now. Where,
All
where,
right.
where'd you grow up, Jason?
I
How'd you get
grew up,
started? Mm-hmm.
well, born and raised in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in a place called Bryan, Texas, which is right outside of College Station, which is a home of Texas A&M University. Excuse me. My my father was a graduate assistant there. He was working on his PhD at the time, and that's why I was born there. But all my roots are in Texas. All of my family is from a place called Carthage, which is in Northeast Texas, and not too far from Marshall. My
Mm.
parents went to school there, a place called Wiley College, and yeah, so born and raised in Texas. Went to high school in Texas, right outside of Houston. Went to college, University of Texas at Austin. I'm a Longhorn.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Lived pretty much all my life there. I worked in different places, uh, back when I was traveling and things like that. Until we moved out here to California about almost 7 years ago now. But yeah, I'm from Texas.
Beautiful. Well, California is a kind of different vibration from Texas, that's for sure.
Absolutely,
I tell you.
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, do you have any brothers and sisters?
Oh yeah, I have an older brother and have a younger brother. So no sisters, unfortunately. So my mom has always wanted that daughter, you
Uh-huh.
know.
Mm-hmm.
But so she was outnumbered, being around, uh, four men, as we got older with my dad and us boys. But she did have a lot of nieces. My dad was one of 11, so
Ooh,
I
okay.
had a ton of aunts and uncles and a lot of good role models when I was coming up, and a ton of cousins, which was always a really good experience for me when I reflect back on my childhood. Spending time with my cousins, in rural East Texas. No better way to grow up, and yeah, so no sisters, but tons of cousins, and and aunts and uncles there when I grew up in Texas.
Wow. Now, so now, exactly what do you do right now? And how did you get into this area?
Well, I think in if we split it up by life and business, right? So in life, I think what I do is I am I'm a father of
Mm-hmm.
three myself,
Mm-hmm.
um, husband of almost 24 years, um, friend, a fraternity brother, a uh, trusted mentor, mentee, advisor. I
Mm-hmm.
wear a number of different hats as it relates to in life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in business, I now am a co-founder. I'm a chief executive, CEO of a we don't like to call it necessarily a startup anymore because we've been around here 3 years now, but of a mission-driven, purpose-driven company, right? So
Mm.
that's what I do now in business.
Mm-hmm.
After spending a number of different years in corporate America, but that's where I am today. I am along with a very, very small but impactful team. You always surround yourself with really good people and people who are smarter than you. So
Mm.
I've been
Yeah.
effective in doing that. Got a good team. We've got a great purpose, great mission, and we're gaining some traction, which I'm very proud about.
Well, tell us a little about that mission, your
Yeah,
main objective. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So our main objective, so the name of our company is Frontline Careers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our mission is to connect frontline employees. Okay, these are the men and women, the people who are working on the front line of companies, right? They have to be present to do their jobs. Okay,
Mm.
think
Okay.
retail, think manufacturing, think construction, think uh, accommodation services, think restaurant, food and beverage, grocery, pharmacy. You get what I'm saying, right? So
Yes.
these are positions where people have to be present to the jobs. Our mission is to connect them with companies that are offering more. So in my experience, I have found that frontline employees are looking for more.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is to connect them with companies that offer more.
Mm,
And the way we do that, Herbert, is we um, we'll go into a business. Okay, we'll go into a business and we will talk just to their frontline employees. Okay, and we do it anonymously through surveys. And through their feedback, we are able to determine what it's like to work there. Okay,
mm,
so sometimes you'll see on job descriptions, oh, we offer a great place, right, for you to build a career, or we have a great work environment. But a lot of times that is somebody in HR writing that description. That's the owner's words. But if
uh-huh.
you're that person who's working on the front line of the company, they might have something totally different to say, right?
Yes. Yes.
Which is why we cut through all of that. We go right to the source. We ask them, what is it like to work here? And then based on their feedback, we then are able to certify businesses as being frontline friendly. Okay. They score
Okay.
high enough, they're certified as a frontline friendly business. Now that business can use that to promote their work environment, right? To attract job seekers, to attract customers, or just to build pride within their workplace that, hey, you know what? We not only do business, but we do business the right way by treating our people right. So that's what we do. Um, Tangentially to that, we also offer a job site. We don't necessarily put a lot of emphasis on that right now. We're putting more emphasis on our assessments. But the purpose of that job site is to only offer jobs that are offering more than just pay, right? Because
Okay.
again, in our experience, it's deeper than pay. It's how do you treat your people, right? It's about different types of benefits and perks. Those go a long way. So only jobs that are offering more than just pay will be featured on that site.
Well, Jason, one of the things, there's every restaurant, every place you go into, even Walmart, all of them are complaining that the lack of frontline employees, the lack of people at the checkouts, the lack of people to interact. Saturday night, I was preparing. I speak at the church on Sunday,
Hmm.
and you know how your printer always runs out,
Right when you need
and you
it.
need it. I tell you. And so I I uh, I was going to run out to Office Depot, and something said call. So I called, and they had actually closed at 6. So this was 7. I'm like, man, they used to be open till 8 o'clock. So I said, well, I can actually get there in the morning. I checked the hours. They're not even open on Sunday. And they had due to employee shortages.
Hmm.
And so you have that more and more. What do you think is contributing to that as far as and and and, and let me just say, I think a lot of companies may be using that as an excuse to just hire fewer people. But what do you think of that idea that there's fewer frontline employees at every place you go? They need people who can be on the front lines, who can interact with the customers.
Yeah. I think it's as with any issue, it's multifaceted, right? It's not just one simple, answer. But I think there's multiple factors. I think at a very macro level, I think some of our immigration policy has affected that, right?
Hmm.
Um, Over the years, I think that's impacted the number of workers that we have available here in the U.S. So I think that's one. Second, I do think that the pandemic, and I've talked about this several times before, um, it was a wake up call to a lot of folks, that I understand my value now, and I've been in a place where they have clearly have not taken my concerns into account, my safety into account, um, and I deserve and want better, right? So you have some folks who have taken the time to go back and invest in themselves, who are committed to not going back to that same job, that same employer, or that same work environment. So
Mm.
people didn't just magically disappear overnight, right? I think what they've done is start to invest in themselves and explore other career paths. And
Okay.
that's true, I think, not just within frontline America. I think Herbert, that goes across the board. You know,
Mm,
I've heard of more and more people, even on the in the corporate America side, who are like, you know what, I've had enough. I want to do something different.
yes.
And the pandemic has given them the courage in some ways to go and explore, different paths. So I think it's multifaceted. I think there are macro factors at play, but even at a very, very micro level, when you start looking at the individual, I think people are waking up and saying, I want to do something different. And whether that's going back to school to explore different options, or strictly just going into different paths, maybe by their own entrepreneurship paths. There's been explosion, I think, on that front, especially with people who look like you and I.
Hmm.
And so I think that's part of it. And to one thing you just said there, you said use it as an excuse not to hire. I think some of these layoffs you see happening, I think that is um, there. I remember reading an article that was talking about some of the piggyback behavior, and a lot of that's in tech jobs. But there is some level of resiliency in um, frontline industries, like you're pointing out. They still
Hmm.
need people,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
while tech is laying off, frontline industries for the most part still need people. And I think even with the recession fears that are coming about right now, I think that will largely stay intact. Still need
Mm,
people.
yeah, yeah. Well, this area that you're in is really, I think, going to be more and more important because as you say, as people make new choices and explore different options, it's going to become more and more competitive. Companies are really going to have to look at the market and what value they add to the employee as opposed to just the work they can get out of them. So, yeah, you're at a pivotal point right now in the labor market. Uh, how do the companies respond to your surveys?
So the company, we asked them, we do have a company survey component. So there's two components. There is the employee survey, and then we have we call it the company questionnaire. So there's questions
Hmm.
that we ask them about what kind of benefits they offer, for example,
Hmm.
what the turnover rates are. So we use that information too in our assessment. And as we build and we rank, compare one like business to another like business, we can use that information to understand what one does for its people versus another. But so there is a company survey that we ask, but the largest component of our ultimate scoring comes from the employee themselves, right? So aggregated, of course. So we aggregate across the employee base. We have a separate survey for managers, frontline managers, then frontline staff. We look at those two together, okay? That's a heavy weighting within our methodology. And then you have the company survey where we have some questions, like I said, turnover, demographic type questions, benefit type questions, those types of things, um, promotion rates, those types of things. But the vast majority of it, even though we do have that company survey, the large majority of the scoring is going to come from the employee feedback.
Mm. Now, who would be employing you? The companies to sort of diagnose their particular situation, or is it employee driven?
It's going to be, in a way, it's still employee driven. I'm gonna explain that, right? So yes, the businesses come to us. I'll give you a couple of examples here. So I was talking with one business owner who actually just took over a business, okay, and so he sees our service as an excellent way to understand how the employee sentiment is there. He's just now taking it over. He doesn't have the relationships per se. So that's one. Um, another situation would be um, one where, again, it's just the employer reaching out, where they want the recognition, right?
Mm,
They want to be
okay.
recognized as a frontline friendly employer, right? So they want the certification. Why? Because they can use that to attract, like you're talking about, job seekers. They can use that to attract customers. They can use that just to build pride within their workplace, right? So that's the other scenario where businesses reach out. We've also had businesses reach out to a lesser extent, though,
Mhm.
who have an attrition problem. They
Mm,
can't keep people.
right.
right? So if you look at some of these employers that are complaining about they can't find people, if you dig deeper, they can find people, they just can't keep people,
Mm,
right? So they'll come and work for them and say, this is not for me, and then they leave, right?
okay.
So you have
Yes.
some who really want to understand why. What is it about my work environment that people are rejecting, right? So that's kind of that third scenario. But in all those cases, the businesses are reaching out. Okay. Now, I envision a day, my team envisions a day where that frontline friendly badge, if you go to our website, frontlinecareers.com, right, you
Hmm.
see that badge, that it is now nationwide, right? And it has become synonymous. It has become synonymous, just like the Better Business Bureau ratings that you see in window cleans, right?
Hmm.
That this is a place that takes care of its people.
Yes.
And whether it's frontline job seekers or customers, they are looking for that badge when they go to places to shop or when they're trying to figure out who I want to work for. That's our vision, right? But it really starts with the business owner reaching out to us, or
Mm.
we're actively courting and reaching out to businesses right now, but it's the sale really happens on the business side.
Well, Jason, as you were sharing that, I've seen companies that, well, they don't even know that they're not employee friendly. I noticed there's a trend in certain areas now where companies are trying to motivate employees to work harder, you know, not by giving more money, but almost like that fear of loss. It's like, anytime I see companies doing these productivity studies, so often I got like, oh boy, they're coming down the pipe now to say, you're not doing your job and using that as a way to not pay you more or even to get rid of you. The that Do you see companies kind of doing that now, or is the trend now for companies to be more, I don't like to say sympathetic, more attentive to the need of the employees?
I there is a movement, and I say I've said this several times before, and that movement started before the pandemic hit.
Uh-huh.
The Business Roundtable announced kind of a changes to the stated purpose of a corporation, which was what before, Herbert? Herbert, it was just profits for stakeholders,
Let's
right?
make money. Yes, the
Make money,
shareholder value.
shareholder
Yes.
value, right?
Uh-huh.
So, but they updated the stated purpose of corporations to now include, in essence, take care of their employees and the communities in which they operate. And what that was doing was saying, hey, we can no longer just be about stakeholders, because if we do, we're going to have some human capital challenges on the
Ooh,
horizon.
ooh.
This was pre-pandemic, okay?
Uh-huh.
So people could already, the writing was already on the wall, right? And that pendulum was already starting to swing back. So then you get into the pandemic, and it just accelerated the movement that was already there. So I do think today you're seeing companies starting to realize and wake up to the fact that we've got to do more, right?
Yeah.
We've got to offer more. How many times now are you seeing commercials on TV saying, "Hey, we'll pay for your schooling. We'll
Yeah.
do this. We'll do that." You didn't see that 3 years ago. You didn't see that
No,
4 years ago,
no,
right?
no.
They're realizing that they have to do more. But here's where I think many of them are still missing the boat, right? Is it's more than just perks. They're great. It's more than just benefits. That's awesome, right? It's the work environment, right? You still have
Okay.
some of these places that are offering all those great things, but they're still dealing with a massive turnover issue.
Uh-huh.
Why? Because their culture is terrible, right?
Yes.
So if you think I can just buy my way to it, right? You know, that's a hard, while somebody see that as a winning strategy, I'm telling you, it's not. Okay. The winning strategy is figuring out, how do I improve my culture? And the way you figure out how you improve your culture is you have to talk to the people in that culture. You have to talk
Okay.
to the frontline employees. They will tell you. And a lot of times, um, in my experience at least, it's that frontline management, right? Where they haven't been empowered, right? Um,
Yeah.
to actually um, uh, coach, to actually encourage, develop, because they're getting squeezed, right? A lot of times they're feeling that your point about productivity, all
Yes.
they hear about from their leadership is productivity.
Yes.
So guess what? They're pushing down productivity, 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 right? When in essence, the best pathway to productivity is that discretionary productivity, right?
Yes.
Where people want to give more, right? Because they take pride in their workplace. They know they're treated well, they're treated like people. So you treat me like a person, I feel like I'm taken care of, I'm going to give you more. That's just common sense,
Yes.
right? But as they say, common sense is not so common, especially out in some of the corporate America ranks, right?
Yeah.
But companies in general are starting to wake up to the fact that we have to do more, right? And so our purpose as a organization, as a company, is to help people find the companies that are doing more. And the
Mm.
pinnacle, the top, are the
Yes.
ones that aren't just offering perks, benefits, they're offering a great work environment, a
Environment.
good work culture.
Yeah. I think that's a major shift, because so often there was a period in which that what they call the stick and the carrot approach. you know,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, that and I
Very
think
familiar with it.
yeah, and as you said, pre-pandemic, it was developing, but after the pandemic, when people had a chance to really assess themselves, assess the level of, you know, of contentment they got from their job, the level of satisfaction, and look at all those things.
Hmm.
It's not just the money, it's not just the experience, it's not just the contacts. It's, as you say, it's the culture. It's how you feel there. How valued do you feel? And I think what you're doing is going to be. I think a lot of the companies are going to are going to be knocking on your door because and this is my assessment in looking at a lot of different companies, from your franchise companies, your McDonald's, that many of these companies are at this point now that they don't really know what to do because they're not talking to the right people. I know in network marketing, whenever, especially when you have companies that are really corporate oriented, that the corporate people talk to whoever the leaders are, the top producers, but never
Hmm.
talk to the frontline people. Interesting about network marketing, you don't really get to the top by your own efforts. You get to the top by helping other people achieve success. And so therefore, how the little guy feels is critical to the overall success. But many of the companies don't really see that. And
Hmm.
they've tried everything. They do structural changes, they do price changes, they do perk changes. But until they talk to the right people, I think you're really on to something, Jason, because until you talk to the right people, you won't have a clue what's going on.
Yes. Well, like I say, step number one is to define the problem.
Mm.
Okay. Step number one is, and you can't define the problem without talking to the people who are dealing with it.
Ooh, okay. Yes.
You know, they're dealing with it every single day. They're dealing with that work environment. So how can you define the problem without talking to them? And
Mm.
the challenge is you can try to talk to them directly, but you've already built up this environment of a lack of trust, right? So do you think you're gonna get something that's a candid, very pure and honest feedback? You're not gonna get it. But that's why with us and the anonymity that we bring, right, to these businesses, they're able to get the raw truth from their employees, even the ones that get certified, right? They learn something, right? They learn something that they did not know. That, wow, okay, I didn't realize that. They wouldn't share with them, but they would share with us because it's anonymous. So there's
Yeah.
no way that the leadership knows who says what. But you can also,
Wow.
when you start to aggregate it, you can
Yeah.
see those themes start to come out.
Yes.
You
Yes.
start to define the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Mm. Amazing. I tell you, this is really now. How long have you all been doing this? Now your company's been doing this.
So the idea originally launched in February of 2018, right?
Hmm.
And there's a story behind that. I was at a golf tournament and I heard Mike Rowe speak. He's the the former host of the show TV series Dirty Jobs. You remember that show?
Yes, yes.
And it was a talk from him that really got me to think, oh, that's the idea I've been waiting on, right? Because I was
Uh-huh.
at a time in my life where I wanted to do something different. I knew I had to do something different, something more purpose driven, something more fulfilling. I just I couldn't put my finger on it till I heard him speak, and then that's what gave me the idea. That was
Uh-huh.
2018. Okay,
Uh-huh.
we didn't start the business though, officially launched the business until um, uh, January of 2020, late January 2020,
Uh-huh.
which was right before the pandemic hit.
Pandemic. Yeah. Yeah.
So we actually been around here going on 4 years, so just over three right now. So
Uh-huh.
we're in our in our third year here,
Yeah.
but we started in January 2020.
Now, what was it that Mike said that rang your bell?
Well, the thing that his message, so he's a keynote speaker to a room full of business leaders, right? And his message was basically, hey, you guys have put too much emphasis on college degrees and not enough emphasis on the skilled trades, right? The roles within your businesses that are making them go, right? And that was what I took away from that. And it resonated with me because that was my experience, what I was going through at the time and what I'd seen, and kind of one of the sources of my misalignment in terms of values and things like that, and why I knew I wanted to do something different. So it was that idea when he said, you need to invest more into these skilled trades. And I was like, wow, I've seen that firsthand, right?
Mhm.
People who are in these skilled trades, right? In these frontline positions, right? To be more expansive in terms of definition, um, highly motivated, extremely talented. And when you invest in them, wow, right? I saw that return
Yeah.
immediately, right?
Yeah.
And you see the discretionary effort. You see the whole, not just change in demeanor, but just the change in outlook and what that creates. And so I was like, man, why not make it easier to bring a level of transparency to the market that doesn't exist today? What he's talking about is you guys need to be doing and behaving like great um, and really good businesses, right? I know that they're out there. We've heard stories of some of them. So then that's when the idea hit. Why not make it easier, bring a level of transparency that doesn't exist today to the market
Uh-huh.
for frontline employees to find these skilled trade uh, people, men and women, to find the businesses that are actually doing that, what he was talking about. And that was the genesis.
Wow. Now, you know, now what type of business were you in before that?
So before that, I worked in, I like to say I started my corporate career on the front lines and I ended on the front lines, right?
Uh-huh.
So right out of college, I worked for Johnson& and Johnson. One of their, Johnson& and Johnson has a ton of different companies,
Yes,
right?
yes.
One's called Ethicon. They make sutures and things like that. And so I worked on the second shift, um, and I was supervising a production team. So uh, my production team was making sutures. So you have like basically the needle, and then you got the thread, and press them together, right? You push out a ton of them, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
they wanted people who had engineering backgrounds. I got my degree in mechanical engineering, even though I didn't really use it that hardcore engineering for that role. It was great, kind of a supervisor experience right out of college, but it was right there on the front lines, um, in manufacturing environment, in a place called San Angelo, Texas, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, um, Lastly, my last stint in corporate America was working for a company called Waste Management. So in the environmental services, trash, recycle, green waste collection
Uh-huh.
business, and they do a lot more than that too. But and that's how I found my way from Texas to California to run large scale operations. So I was running collection operations. So when we say collection, we're talking about the trucks, right?
Uh-huh.
Doing pickup again of recycled trash, green waste, things like that, organics, and then moved over to run recycling operations for Southern California. So that's my stint. So recycling, we're talking kind of like a reverse logistics manufacturing plants
Uh-huh.
from across SoCal. So started on the front line, ended on the front line. In between, I did a number of years working in consulting for, originally it was Anderson Consulting, then they changed their name to Accenture. And then I left there and went into industry, um, for a small natural gas trading and asset management company in Houston, before I then went on to waste management. That's kind of my professional career right there.
Yeah,
Frontline consulting, and then kind of
yeah,
internal consulting in between.
yeah. So you really bring a lot of experience, from all levels into the equation. And I think that's critical because, as they say, unless you walked a mile in my shoes, you may not understand my position. And
Yeah,
so all the things that you did sort of prepared you for this opportunity you're in now. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And it's one thing is like I mentioned over and over and over again to people who I've had the honor and pleasure of mentoring, um, is focus on the learning.
Mm.
I stress that so much to people. Focus on the learning. And I don't know, have you ever done the strengths finder? You ever done that assessment where it
No.
tells you like your 32 strengths? Like my number one strength is learner, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Learner, strategic, and some other achievement. They have these different qualities or traits.
Uh-huh.
It's a really good. I think it's Gallup. It's a or I forget who puts it out, but it's called Strengths Finder. I think the Strength Finder 2.0. It's a
Uh-huh.
great thing. It's a great tool. um, so learner just by nature is who I am. I
Yeah.
love learning new stuff. Excuse me. But what it's prepared me for, I think, well, for moving into entrepreneurship. And what I tell folks a lot is you might find yourself in a situation where you've got that terrible boss, right? Or you're working in that bad environment like we've been talking about. Focus on the learning, right? So it's all about your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to adopt a mindset of let me learn what I can, right? Learn something new, develop these skills because once I got them, they can't be taken away.
Right.
Once I
Right.
learn how to run a business,
Uh-huh.
once I've learned how to read and interpret a P&L,
Uh-huh.
once I've learned how to just go down a list, right? Just make a list. Once I've learned those skills, they can't be taken away from me. So
Mm.
change your mindset to be focused on the learning. And then once you've kind of tapped that out, you move. You go somewhere else. Don't be dependent or waiting on them to recognize your value, recognize your skills, right?
Ooh,
Sometimes
yeah.
we run into those situations where we hit those political games and stuff like that. Set that aside. Focus on your learning, right? And then move to the next thing. Because I think what really I think you don't you've heard the saying you don't know what you don't know,
That's right. Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah.
you know? And when you focus on learning, you're really reducing the amount of your don't knows,
Okay.
right? Which is helping to prepare you for that next step or that next major change in your life. So
Mm.
that's kind of what helped me.
Wow. Man, you've said so many, there's so many thoughts and ideas in there. But companies need to really be paying attention to what you're talking about because when they just look at that stick and the carrot and look at like that idea, if I pay a person enough, they'll do anything, or even I just need to get a certain level of productivity and I can live with that. And people get tired of that, and I think lose that I think that idea of being valued, that somebody thinks that you're important, that somebody, uh, we were working with a company and bringing in a whole new team, and I would suggest, I said, well, why don't you guys get all the field people, all the people who are actually interacting with the customers, and bring them together and ask them, some of these questions. What can we do better?
Mhm.
What do you see as a challenge? What do you spend most of your time doing? And they didn't do it, and they've been, you know,
Surprise.
yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder what motivates them other than profit. I mean, it's like until that they say liars may figure, but figures don't lie. Until that loss column pops up and really becomes significant, then they become very attentive to you know assessments. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing wrong? What can we do right? What can we do better? Mm,
Yeah. And sometimes it's that they're not taking L's, right? They're not taking losses. They're just not realizing the gains. They see that, hey, that we have this much profitability, not
uh-huh.
realizing it could be more.
It could be more. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not that you're losing, directly where you're seeing, your net income is in the red. No, it's that, yeah, you're making a profit, but you're losing so much. You could be
Much.
making so much more. And there's been countless studies that have been done on this when, evaluating, whether it's kind of companies that take care of their people and things like that are known for it and marking their performance across others, maybe in the S&P 500, that kind of stuff. There's been those types of studies done that kind of show that they have greater returns.
Yeah.
So, but I think some folks, just inherently interpret, you know, my master is the street, and I'm gonna do
Uh-huh.
whatever. It's just managing quarter to quarter,
Uh-huh.
not taking a long term view. And I think might see some of that right now
Yeah.
with the copycat behavior that's happening. Well, if others in my sector are laying off, then we want to lay off too.
Yeah.
Uh, when really, do you really need to do that? What are the things you can do to take care of your folks, and how will that pay dividends for you down the road?
Down the road.
Right. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's interesting looking at the airlines, like they laid a lot of people off, did not totally expecting the comeback to be so quickly. And so now they're
hmm
understaffed. And it's funny when you lay people off, I don't care what the job is. If you've been off for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, you don't walk right back in at the same level of skill that you had when you left, or the same level of operational skill. Like you may know what's going on, but it's like coming on the basketball court and not practicing. you know, maybe
yeah,
you were
exactly.
good. Yeah, maybe you were good in your day, but you need to practice to get yourself back in your time and get your rhythm together. Yeah.
Yeah. I think some companies have learned their lesson though from that, and that's why you're seeing right now there's a level of stickiness in some of these service industries, like in accommodation, retail, even definitely in food and beverages, where the Fed keeps raising these rates because they want to see unemployment go up. Right, that's
Hmm.
that's an indicator for them that
Yeah.
they're addressing inflation. Right,
Yeah.
but they're not necessarily seeing it in some of these service industries.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And the reason being is because companies learn, like we did that right before COVID, and we went through hell to
Uh-huh.
get people back. We're
Yeah.
not just going to jump and just lay people off and then find ourselves right back there again.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think companies are learning their lesson. Like don't be so quick to get rid of your folks, right?
Yes.
They are your lifeline.
There you and that I like you saying that they're your human capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Jason, in this endeavor, even in life, what do you see has been one or two of your biggest challenges in life or in business?
Hmm. I think there's a with one of them. I'm gonna just focus on one. I think I already talked about you don't know what you don't know, right? And
Uh-huh.
I think so lack of knowledge, or lack of experience as it relates to in a business context of if you don't if any business you need marketing, right? But if I have
Yeah.
no marketing experience, right, that's kind of hard, right?
Uh-huh.
Let's say if I didn't know how to read financial statements, that's kind of hard if you're going to run a business, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I think the lack of knowledge, but gradually overcoming that through business school, through again seeking those different learning opportunities. When I was in corporate America, I
Uh-huh.
want to go do this, and making it known what you need and what you would like to do,
Uh-huh.
right? um, you know that you're trying to build certain skill sets to make you more marketable even outside of the company that you're in. So it's that lack of experience is an obstacle that you constantly have to overcome by seeking out learning. Okay.
Mm.
um, the other one though that relates to both life and to business to me is understanding the lack of knowledge of self.
Mm. Okay.
Okay. So and I talked about this recently too, that and I'll share like and I've shared this on a couple of other things I've done, but one of my best former bosses, once told me, he said, Jason, you got to figure out what makes you tick.
Mm.
Okay. And he says, otherwise, you end up killing yourself. Right.
Mm.
And that kind of took me aback. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's before I left Houston to come out to California. And what he was saying was he knew kind of how I worked. And I think he saw in me that I would be the type of dude that I would work myself into the grave.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He knew me. Right. But I didn't know why that was the case. I didn't know
Mm.
what was driving that within me. All right.
Mm.
And it took some life changing events for me, some scares for me to really force me to have to take that look in the mirror
Mhm.
and seek some outside help, and therapy and things like that to really understand me. Right.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, your biggest obstacle will always be yourself.
Mm.
I don't care what it is.
Uh-huh.
You're Because no matter what situation you're presented with, at the end of the day, you control how you respond to it.
Okay.
You control how you view it. So at the end of the day, it still comes back to you. So at the end of the day, if you once you can, I wouldn't say conquer yourself, but understand yourself, right? And be at peace with yourself, then you're in a position to do so much more. So I think the obstacles for me were understanding me, right? So
Mm.
lack of knowledge of self,
Mhm.
right? First and foremost. But then there's a lack of knowledge and experience when you put in a business context. But it all comes back to a lack of knowledge and gaining clarity. So
Mm.
gain clarity about yourself, right? Gain clarity about um, you know, learning things as it relates to business. If you're gonna go start a business in you name the area, then you dang should better go and try to learn something about that.
Mm. Yes.
Put
Yes.
yourself in a position where you know some things about that, right? Increase your level of knowledge. If you're gonna do something that's gonna be a major life event for you as an individual, as a person, for your family, learn something about you, understand you. So I
Mhm.
would say those two biggest obstacles that you don't ever overcome them. You just
Mhm.
continue to work with them, in my view.
Work with it. Work through them. Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you look back at your life, you say now you're at a certain point, your business is maturing, you've been through the corporate arena. If you look back on yourself coming out of high school, coming out of college, what advice would you give your younger self?
Hmm. Well, one thing, we still got a long way to go first, man. We're not maturing as a business. We still got a long way to go, Herbert. But I think with the help of folks like you and others, we will eventually get there and have our mission become ingrained just hopefully throughout this country. So I think we still got a long way to go. But I
Mhm.
think what I would tell my younger self is, again, going back to understanding why, like, ask yourself why. That's
Mhm.
such a powerful question.
Yes.
Why do you do the things that you do? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I would tell my younger self, ask yourself why you work this way. Ask yourself why you respond in this way. Ask yourself why. Take
Mm-hmm.
time to pause and think about what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
and reflect and understand why. And because when you start asking those questions why, you start to peel back and you start to go back, right? A lot of stuff goes back to childhood and things like that, and you start to understand why. And so, because through those questions, why, that's going to help you understand who you are and help
Mm.
put you on a path to real success.
Yes. Yes.
What I mean by real success is it's not achieving, and I've talked about this, not achieving things. It's about um, um, having values that you are in good alignment with, right? And you're feeling good about yourself and what you're doing and how you're contributing. That is success. You're not comparing yourself to others and things like that. So that wasn't me and my younger self. No,
Mm-hmm.
I was in many ways the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where success was defined by the level you were at. So I was just so focused on getting promoted. Man, I wanted to get early promotions, early
Mm.
promotions, early promotions.
Mm.
I was
Yes.
focused on that dollar amount. I wanted to get to this level by this day. And you know, that was what was motivating me. All right.
Mm.
Now that stuff doesn't. Right.
Okay.
So I would tell my younger self and ask why do those things motivate you? Why? Right.
Mm. Okay. Mm.
And if my younger self would sit there and start to ask those questions and really dig deep, then I probably would have been put on a totally different path much sooner.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, man. That's some powerful stuff. Well, I tell you, just a couple of thoughts. One, what is your contact information, your website? How can people reach you to get more information about your services and what you all do?
Yeah, so you can find us at frontlinecareers.com
Uh-huh.
is where you'll find our website. You can reach me directly at email at jason
Uh-huh.
at frontlinecareers.com. So that's my direct email. And you
Uh-huh.
can always find me on LinkedIn too. Jason Roberts, you'll find me there. So co-founder for Frontline Careers. I have an amazing team. Um, Ari Malka, who's our scientist on our team,
Uh-huh.
who does a lot with the assessments and things like that. He's a PhD psychologist. Ty Roberts, who's also my better half, who is a
Uh-huh.
marketing guru and
Uh-huh.
spent a lot of years on nonprofits and once had our own nonprofit consulting firm. And so we're a really small team. And then we also have our amazing full stack developer, Wesley Jones, who's fantastic.
Mm.
So we're really, really a small team. Like I said, we've got a long way to go, Herbert, but we believe in our mission, right? And
Mhm.
some of the early feedback has been great, it's been fantastic. And we're starting to see more and more people want and inquire about our services, more partnerships. So we recently signed on another Chamber of Commerce.
Uh-huh.
So the way we partner with them is we provide discounts to their member businesses, and any of their businesses that earn our certification get recognized by the chamber, and they get recognized by us too. So eventually, we hope to be having partners all across this country, all on the same mission of recognizing companies who are doing more and
Uh-huh.
encouraging those who aren't there to move along that spectrum.
Wow.
But yeah, Jason Roberts is where you can find me. Jason at frontlinecareers.com, Jason Roberts on LinkedIn, and frontlinecareers.com is our website.
All right, Jason. Well, thank you so much, man. I tell you, you have shared a lot of stuff today. We sure appreciate you. And by the way, did we get you a copy of our book of the 12 Universal Laws of Success?
You did, and it's on
Uh-huh.
my list. Definitely on my
Okay.
list
All
to
right.
start reading.
Beautiful. All right, my brother. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. Your words are super wise. I think we need to do another interview or two because there's so much going on in the area right now,
Yeah,
that's going to impact the job market and impact people's ability to achieve that good life that they're looking for. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
hey, if you know some good businesses in Wilmington, we'd love to talk to them.
All right. Well,
We're starting
thank
to
you so
expand out
much.
of Southern California, so let me
Beautiful.
know.
Well, we don't quite have California weather, but it's pretty good here. We don't own any snow plows or anything like that.
Right,
If it snows like once every 4 years, when it snows, we just shut down.
right,
Stay
right.
home. Yeah, yeah. All
Same
right, my
here.
friend. Thank you so much to our listeners. Thank you so much for being with us today. Jason Roberts and his company, frontlinecareers.com. I'll tell you something, folks. It's important to listen to this over and over, especially business people who are wondering how to make that next step. And employees, people who are, you're on your career path, but how to position yourself to be able to take advantage of all the great opportunities available.
Amen. Yep.
And so we say this at the Success Talk. You can be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have anything you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. And so it is.